everyone. In the last topic, we discussed nutrition and respiration topics in life processes. Now, in this session, we will discuss about transportation. What is transportation? The carrying of substances from one place to another place. We call it as transportation. Who is carrying here? In the nutrition and respiration topics, we discussed that after digestion, the food should carry to all the parts of the body and the lungs should carry oxygen to all parts of the body. So, who is carrying here our nutrients and oxygen to all parts of the body? Here is a mediator, that is blood. Blood will carries from one place to another place what we required. Those are nutrients, organic substances, water and many other things. And carbon, nitrogen, waste materials also will carry by the blood. What are the components of a transportation system? Transportation system consists of three components. Those are heart, blood and blood vessels. Let us discuss about heart. Heart, what is heart? Heart is an internal organ. It's a muscular organ, we will call it as, and is also called as pumping organ. Why it is called as pumping organ? Because it pumps the blood to all parts of the body. So if anybody asks you where your heart is located, don't say that it is towards the left side. It is located at the center of the chest but slightly tilted towards the left side. And it is of one's fist. That means my heart size is of my fist and your heart will be of your fist size. Each heart consists of 4 chambers. What are chambers? These are nothing like how our home consists of different rooms. The heart also consists of chambers. These are like rooms inside. It consists of upper 2 chambers and lower 2 chambers. Upper 2 chambers are called auricles and lower 2 chambers are called ventricles. These auricles and ventricles are connected either by arteries or veins. So why these auricles or ventricles are separated from each other? There is a reason, so as to prevent oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods. What are oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood? See, our body, we know that our body will flow with blood. But what is oxygenated? What is deoxygenated? What is pure blood and what is impure blood? Let us know. See, if the blood consists of rich amounts of oxygen, we call it as pure blood or oxygenated blood. Whereas, if the blood consists of low amounts of oxygen, it is called impure blood or deoxygenated blood. Let us know the structure of heart. When heart is longitudinally bisect, we can clearly observe the 4 chambers of the heart. Those are right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle and left ventricle. Right atrium and left atrium are together called as in plural auricles. Left atrium is connected by pulmonary veins. Right atrium is connected by superior vena cava. Left ventricle is connected by aorta. Right ventricle is connected by pulmonary arteries. Left atrium opens to left ventricle with the help of the valve. It is called as mitral valve or bicuspid valve. Whereas right atrium opens to right ventricle with the help of tricuspid valve. Right ventricle and left ventricle are separated by thick muscular septa. This septa is useful for the separation of oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods. Here the mitral valve and tricuspid valve are present as to prevent the backward flow of blood into the auricles. Let us know the blood circulation in human body. Firstly, the lungs will supply pure oxygenated blood to the left atrium with the help of pulmonary veins. This blood will enters into the left ventricle. From left ventricle, it travels to the body parts with the help of aorta. The deoxygenated blood from the body will enters into the right atrium with the help of superior vena cava. From right atrium, it enters into the right ventricle From right ventricle, it enters again to the lungs for purification. So here we can observe the blood enters into the heart two times, that is twice. So it is called as a double circulation. That's why in humans it's a system we can call it as double circulatory system. Today I am going to explain a very important objective question to 10th class as well as intermediate students. My question is, do all the organisms possesses a four-chambered heart? Why it is exceptional in few organisms? All the organisms do not possess a four-chambered heart. It is exceptional only in case of mammals and aves. Mammals possesses this four-chambered heart as to maintain their large bodies, and these four chambers are helpful to gain more amounts of oxygen to the body. Whereas in aves, they usually fly in the sky. For that, they require much energy. To fill their energy, they require more amount of oxygen. So, usually they will have four-chambered heart. Whereas in reptiles and amphibians, they possess three-chambered heart. And there is an exceptional case, that is in crocodiles, it is a four-chambered heart. Whereas in fishes, it is having two-chambered heart. What is blood pressure? We generally call blood pressure as BP. General rate of blood pressure is 120 by 70 mm of Hg, millimeter of mercury. Hg stands for mercury, mm stands for millimeter. Generally, it is the units of the device. What is the device used to measure blood pressure is sphygmomanometer. It is the device used to measure the blood pressure. Generally, we will say that 120 by 80. 120 is the systolic pressure and 80 is the diastolic pressure. You have to know that actually what is BP and what is systolic and diastolic pressures. The pressure, some pressure will be exerted by the blood against these walls of the vessel. We simply call it as blood pressure. What is the systolic and diastolic pressures? See, the blood will enters into the auricles first through pulmonary vein. Here, the auricles should expand so as to gain more amount of blood. So for that, these walls should expand here. For that, the ventricles in the lower side, they will contract so that it bulges. Auricles will bulge so that it will take more amount of blood here. Next, these auricles are filling with much amount of blood. It produces a sound called lub. And next, this blood will enters into ventricles. How it enters into the ventricles? At this time, the auricles now will contract and ventricles will expand so that it produces a sound, that is dub. And this pressure we call it as diastolic pressure. So the sound exerted by the auricles we call it as systolic pressure, whereas the sound exerted by the ventricles we call it as diastolic pressure. What are vessels? Actually, we will get confused of what are arteries, veins, capillaries. These are nothing but the vessels, we call it as blood vessels, we will call it as. These are nothing but tubes. So what are vessels? Well, vessels are nothing but like the tube like structures which are helpful for the passage of the blood. So what are there are three types of blood vessels. There are arteries, veins and capillaries. First, we will move to arteries. Arteries are the tube-like structures which are useful for the passage of pure blood, that is oxygenated blood. Whereas veins are useful for the passage of impure blood or deoxygenated blood. Then what are capillaries? These are the connecting link between the arteries and veins. These are like a network-like structures in between the arteries and veins. So this junction, we are calling it as capillaries. Here is the difference between arteries, capillaries and veins. You can take a screenshot. Here is an objective question for you. I told you that arteries will carry oxygenated blood whereas veins carry impure blood or deoxygenated blood. Then you should get a doubt here that the pulmonary veins which are connected from lungs into the heart, these are veins actually, but they are supplying pure oxygenated blood from lungs to heart. This is the exceptional case for that. And you can observe that from the right ventricle we can observe that Pulmonary artery is carrying impure blood. Arteries generally carry pure blood. Here is also an exceptional case. Only the vessels which are connected to the heart from the lungs, only exceptional cases. The next component of the transportation system is blood. Blood is a fluid-like substance which consists of plasma, white blood cells, platelets, red blood cells. Plasma is a colorless fluid-like substance which consists of water, proteins, nutrients, and electrolytes. Blood also consists of blood cells. Those are red blood cells and white blood cells. Red blood cells are also called as erythrocytes, whereas white blood cells are also called as leukocytes. White blood cells are again divided into granulocytes and agranulocytes. These are neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, lymphocytes, and monocytes. Answer me, what is the lifespan of WBC? Next, red blood cells. These are disc-like structures which is biconcave in shape. These are red in color because of the pigmentation, hemoglobin. These are also useful for the carrier of oxygen. Answer, what is the lifespan of RBC? Another component of the blood is platelets. These platelets are very important for the blood. When there is any rupture to the blood vessel, there is a change in the blood pressure. So as to prevent that overflow of blood, these platelets act as a clotting factor. What is lymph? From capillaries, some of the plasma, blood cells and proteins escapes out to form a fluid-like substance. It is the part of immune system. These fluids will transfer to the body with the help of lymphatic system. In this chapter, we discussed about transportation in animals. In the next class, we will discuss about the transportation in plants. Thank you, everyone.